you can get away without missing out. Whether you're traveling across Idaho or just spending more time outside, the Connector keeps you up to date with the local stories that matter, from wildfire season to community news. Stay connected to Idaho with the Connector, Idaho Daily News. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. What if your birthday came with a peek into the future? In Rachel Linden's new book, A Sprinkle of Sweet Serendipity, Emmy Wayne gets just that. On her 34th birthday, Emmy, who's a single mom and a chocolatier, finally receives the family vision that she's been waiting for. And it shows her a life more wonderful than she could have ever imagined. But when reality and her dream future start to collide, well, Emmy has to decide between the life she always thought she wanted and the one that might actually truly make her happy. So joining us now to talk more about her new book is the author herself. Rachel, so nice to have you back on the program.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to chat.
Okay, so for folks who haven't picked up a copy of your new book, can you tell us a little bit more about the story?
Yes, I can. So it's about a woman who's caught in the sandwich generation, which I think many of us are. So she's caring for her 6-year-old son as a single parent, and she's also caring for her mother who has a degenerative condition, health condition, and she was running her family business, a little failing fudge shop in Poulsbo, Washington, which is an adorable little harbor town on Puget Sound. And she gets the chance, as you talked about, to see her future. But unfortunately, as the summer goes on, she begins to realize that what she saw may not be what her heart actually wants. So this story has 2 hunky heroes, a lot of chocolate, a French bulldog in ridiculous outfits named Mr. Butters, and a lot of heart and a lot of community.
And where did the first spark of inspiration for this new book come from?
Well, okay, so I pitched a book to my editors that I ended up writing and self-publishing. It's called A Second Chance Scottish Summer, and it was about a redheaded guy. It was a love story, a redheaded guy in a kilt making cheese in the Highlands of Scotland. And I was like, who doesn't want to read that story? But they wanted to go a different direction. So I was like, well, all right, how do we feel? What I thought, what do I love more than chocolate or cheese? I love chocolate more than cheese. I was like, okay, how about chocolate and a little adorable harbor town on Puget Sound, and not one, but two hunky heroes? And they were like, yeah, we love it. So that's what we did.
I love that so much. Okay, so just like me, I mean, you live in Washington. I was raised in Washington. So there is something I think about Poulsbo and about that town that people, if you haven't been there, you don't realize like what a cute little town it is. How important was it to you to kind of have it in that kind of, little kind of magical setting like that?
So I love to put my books in very evocative settings. So my books are always going to have food, travel, romance, a little bit of magical realism, happy endings, and they're books that make you feel good. And so I'm always looking for a setting that almost plays like a character. The settings are as important to me as a character. And Poulsbo is just 45 minutes from my house. I live on a little island in Puget Sound, and it's just absolutely charming. It has a Norwegian heritage. It's called the Little Norway of Washington, and it is just utterly adorable. And it's got such a great community vibe, adorable restaurants and coffee shops. And I thought, oh, Poulsbo is the perfect place to put this because it plays as a character, itself. And I was able to put so many of the actual places that are in the town, like Birdie's Coffee and other places, put them in the story to make it even more realistic. So people are going to Poulsbo, reading the book, going to Poulsbo, and then visiting all these places that they read about in the book, which is super fun.
Well, and frankly, a chocolatier, a chocolate shop, I mean, fits perfectly into Poulsbo.
Yes. And Poulsbo actually has a darling little chocolate shop. And for the grand opening of this book, when the book launched, the chocolate shop made the flavors from the book. And we had that in the opening. It was the cutest thing.
Okay, so you love chocolate, but my question is this then. Emmy is a chocolatier. How much research did you have to do to really kind of understand this as a career instead of just a lover of chocolate?
Yes, because I feel like I'm a connoisseur of eating chocolate. But in terms of making it, that was new to me. So I did quite a bit of research, some about chocolate making, but actually more about making fudge because she's working in her family's fudge shop and she's making fudge. So I
Hmm.
described that even more than the chocolate making. And for that, I had to, I found these series of YouTube videos by a family fudge shop on the East Coast that step by step show you how to make commercial fudge in this small family fudge shop. And that was really helpful. So now I know the terminology and I know what to do and like
Hmm.
the big marble slab and the creaming of the chocolate and all
Oh
the
yeah.
things.
Okay, so I want to talk next about these two, hunky heroes, Jacob and Henry.
Hmm.
Because since Emmy does kind of get this glimpse into the future, right? Of like, oh, this is what your life is going to be like. They actually seem to represent different two different paths for Emmy, but both of them are good, right? So
Hmm.
when you were writing this, what were you hoping that these paths would reveal about just, choices that we make in our lives, in general, right? I mean, it's almost like the path, less taken, right? And
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and sometimes you wonder.
I think, yeah, and I think a lot of times, particularly for women, I'm in my 40s, I have kids, I'm helping to care for elderly relatives, and there are a lot of women, many, 23% of Americans consider themselves to be in the sandwich generation, where they are
Hmm.
caring for two different generations. And it's very easy to lose your sense of self in all of these roles and all of these responsibilities and everything that people need from you and people that you love, you want to be caring for them. But it's hard to find a space for yourself. And so Emmy's entire trajectory is about her learning to show up in her own life and carve out space for herself, to take some ownership of her own life and not just do things that other people tell her she needs to do, but to do things that are going to make her truly happy. And so these two heroes, there's not a bad guy. I didn't want a villain. It's her
Hmm.
being honest with herself. Does she have the courage to be honest with herself and show up in her own life and make space enough to say, actually, I thought I wanted this. This is what people are telling me I should want, but I want something different. And I'm going to have the courage to go for it.
It's so interesting. Because there was a moment in my late 20s and one of the very last conversations I ever had with my dad before he passed away. And I remember I was just like
Hmm.
not in a great place in my life. Like, I wasn't like where I thought I would be professionally. I didn't, I wasn't dating anyone. I just, all of those angsty things that we feel in our
Hmm.
20s. And I remember my dad just very simply saying like he just said to me, he goes, your life will be better than you could have ever imagined. You just need to know that
Oh,
it will all work out. And
oh, that is
right
beautiful. Oh.
now, I mean, he was probably tired of listening to me complain, but I,
But he truly
I
believed that for you, which is a
he
beautiful thing.
did, right? And I really what it resonates with me with Emmy, right? That it's like you're in this hard spot, right? You are caring for your mom. You are a single mom with a little boy. But like it's my dad always said, like everything's gonna work out. It's simple,
Mm,
but profound, right? So I'm
mm,
curious about
mm.
how these relationships, especially with Emmy and her mom, like shape her journey of self-discovery because I think especially as women, like those are difficult times to say I actually am going to take care of myself first and foremost because I can't actually take care of anyone else if I
Hmm.
don't take care of myself.
Hmm. And I think, I write ensemble casts because we live in a very isolated age, but that's not how we thrive as humans. We thrive in
Mhm.
community and in relationship with other people. And I think there's a lie we tell ourselves as women that Emmy absolutely tells herself, which is, I give, but I don't receive anything from people. I'm the one who gives, but she doesn't allow herself to need things from other people. And, I was talking with a friend recently and she was like, a true mark of friendship for me is to allow myself to inconvenience others, to be
Mm.
inconvenient in my need for something from the relationship. And I was like, that is so countercultural, but it's so beautiful because
Yeah.
we need to be vulnerable enough as those who are trying to do it all to say, you know what, I actually need something. Can you help me? And that's what Emmy learns in the story. She learns to let herself need, and to let herself be truly in relationships with other people where they are able to give and she's able to give, and it's a mutually supportive, beneficial relationship in her community, with the person she chooses to be with her family, with her mom, everybody.
You know, I'm curious when you were writing this about Emmy's journey and what it suggests about the difference, right, between the life that we imagine for ourselves and then the one we actually ultimately choose to build. Because I think, I think about my own life, right? And where I was like, I want to be a national news anchor. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I had opportunities, but I always I always say like it was when all of the opportunity came, I no longer had the ambition. And it wasn't that I had the ambition. It was more like I'm now, at the time in my 30s, I'm getting married. I want to have a family, right? I still want a career, but there are other things that take precedence over what I thought I wanted. And it's still difficult though, right? To choose the path that you didn't think you would take, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think probably none of us are sitting in a life that turned out exactly as we thought it would. If that's true, I would love to meet them because that's
Yeah.
rare. We're all sitting in kind of the messy complexities and beauty of a life that is a little bit unexpected and sometimes a lot unexpected. And I think there's tremendous wisdom in being able to pivot and being in touch with what feels like the best thing for the season that I'm in. So maybe I thought I wanted something and then I'm going, "Oh, you know what? My goals have changed. My heart's desire has
Hmm.
changed. What is important has changed. My priorities have changed." And to be aware enough to not just push through and be like, "Well, this is the thing I should." Shoulds are not good. This is the thing I should want, instead of the thing that I really want that feels very satisfying and like it is going to give me life and allow me to
Yeah.
contribute positively to the world and to live according to my values.
I love that. Shoulds are not good. That is
Shoulds are not good.
that's
It shouldn't
great.
have.
They're not
I
good.
think I was about to say it should be on a t-shirt, and then I was like, but I just said should. So I would love a t-shirt that said shoulds are not good.
I love that. Before I let you go, a lot of your stories explore second chances, but also rediscovering like those personal dreams. What keeps drawing you back to those themes?
I think I'm fascinated by helping people think through their place and their purpose in the world. And I did a lot of work internationally. I worked as an aid worker, I worked with college age students. And I just, again and again, I love to say, to help people think through what is it that is really what I'm passionate about, where's my place and where's my purpose. And so I explore
Mm,
those over and over in different ways in my stories, trying to really get to the heart of what does it mean for you in your own skin to live in the world in a meaningful, purposeful, connected way. And so that's what Emmy's doing this way. And it's different because she's a single mom and, the circumstances are different, but those themes just keep popping up in my writing because those are themes in my own life that I'm always fascinated to explore and to help other people explore.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with us again. We've been speaking with Rachel Linden about her brand new book, A Sprinkle of Sweet Serendipity. You can get it now. And thanks so much for listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. Do you have thoughts about today's episode? Make sure you email us at idahomatters@boisestate.edu or reach out on our socials. Find this and other Boise State Public Radio podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.